So today on my channel I will be testing out the Ryzen 5 5600X, so the better CPU of the two, which I recently tested both on the MSI B550 Unify-X as well as the first one on the Crosshair Impact. So I will be using the MSI B550 Unify-X as I'm still waiting for the EVGA X570 Dark to come out, and huge thanks to Solidton from IoTech for lending me these parts in the first place, and also letting me to try these parts on cold briefly. So the good thing from extreme overclocking perspective about the B550 Unify-X is the very clear socket area. There are very few components around the CPU socket itself on this board. So there's actually quite a lot of distance from the CPU to the memory slots. I think they made that on purpose based on the T-Rex container. I think it has to have some kind of impact on the length, because honestly these memory slots could be closer to the CPU itself. So because with the AM4 mounting with the T-Rex container, we need to put the container this way around, so the most of the length will be sideways, so the memory slots cannot be too close to the CPU. So I'm sure you get the idea. So if they were closer to the CPU, T-Rex container wouldn't fit. My biggest issue at the moment with this board is that I don't have the AM4 mounting holes on my original Inferno backplate, and that's a huge issue. So there are two ways I can try to use Inferno, because I want to do it because I don't want to take the heatsink assembly apart and cover the motherboard in Vaseline, as it's not mine. So the easiest way around would be to use a dodgy mounting mechanism. That means I can use some of the X299 and mainstream Intel mounting holes, but then only two rods would be in use. It would be either this and this, or this and this. So that should work to some degree, as even SafeDisk, South Korean overclocker who now works for Asus, he used that mounting method for many top scores on hardware bot with the Ryzen CPUs, and I've seen it being used by some other folks as well. Then the second option is to stack backplates together, and that's what I'm going to try now. So I have the newer backplate from Kimping Cooling, which I received with the F1 Dark, I think. That has the AM4 mounting, and then I will put another thermal pad, a thin one, between that backplate and the Inferno backplate, and that's pretty much what I'm doing here. I can try to show it to you guys. Sorry that I can't show it properly, but it's something like this. There's a tiny thermal pad between the Inferno and the stock backplate, and then a huge blue thermal pad from China between the standard backplate and the motherboard. Those thermal pads, those large blue ones, you can buy from AliExpress, or I think even Elmore sells them through his website, so elmorelabs.com. I think this should work just fine, because the thermal pad actually sucks the backplates together quite well. So I think it should work, but I will still put a thin cardboard material between the Inferno and my bench table, so that it should stand evenly. Luckily, the PCB of the Inferno isn't the highest point of the whole backplate, so there's actually a higher spot on, the rest of the Inferno backplate, the metal part, is actually sitting a tiny bit higher, half a millimeter, than the PCB of the Inferno, so that should work. But yeah, so the board is already insulated the same way around, so we have Vaseline on both sides, just the areas next to the CPU socket. I've used Armaflex to cover the whole surface around the CPU until the memory slots, the M.2 heatsink over here, the heatsinks, the VRM heatsinks and so on, and just some paper towels to catch any water drops that might occur. And now let's mount the heatsink, and I'll just show you the end finish, and let's get this mounted on my bench table and see how it looks like, and let's get cracking, and let's see what we can actually reach. So I was already testing different BIOS versions and so on, but the good thing about AMD overclocking is that we only need one operating system now. We only need Windows 10, which is a good thing. It's a very pleasure to when you can only focus on one system. If we go back, let's say 5 years, we had to have so many operating systems: XP, Windows 7, maybe Server 2012, maybe Windows 8.1 or Windows 8. That was a huge pain back then. Now it's a lot easier. When it comes to BIOS versions, I tried many of the different BIOS versions, even the old extreme overclocking ones, but so far the retail A20 is the most solid for me memory wise. It doesn't have the LN2 mode in the BIOS, but I'm not even sure to even need it in the end. The good thing about the extreme overclocking BIOS is that you can go higher than 2 volts on the memory from the BIOS. I cannot set more than 2 volts with the retail BIOS, but I can go higher than 2 volts in the OS with the command center lead or light, or how do you call it? So with the software in OS. So that's what I will be using. So I'll just mount the pot and show you how it looks like, and let's get going. Okay, so now I got this test setup mounted. So I think both of the backplates are there just fine even when they are stacked. It feels quite rugged, but the warm temperature from the Inferno might not be enough when there's like 2 layers of thermal pad and another backplate in between. So you could use some warmer like Inferno, but I couldn't replace because one of the screws is damaged on the Inferno. But let's get going anyways and let's see what happens. I still have some fans blowing like air around over the whole system, so it should be enough to keep moisture away. But if it starts to look bad, I'll obviously stop. So cools quite rapidly, so let's get going. Clear the CMOS and turn on the system. Over there, and but yeah, this is the first time I'm trying any Ryzen on LN2. So let's see. Try again. Oh yeah, now it's working. So we are missing some process. I need to figure out what the heck is it. So let's keep going now. Minus 100 roughly. To 354. Okay. 101.55. I always check the. Oh, funny. 6. 5, 6. $110. $2 for 10. $197. 57. And we crashed, so now we need better temperature and so on. First 57. 6000 something is the top score. Now memory sucks for this. I need to check the IMC speed. Should be 5.9 now. .9 in Geekbench3. Memory score not very good. Need to get memory higher, like 4700 or something. But I was having IMC issues at the beginning, so not easy at all. Let's still try if we can push a core higher in this test. .7 something Vcore. Yeah, no. 5950 at the moment. Might crash in Dijkstra or DFFT. Oh, past. That's that phase. $5,950. $5,950. 48248. Memory score not good. We need to get the memory higher. That's the biggest limiting factor at the moment for this top score. And it's great to run the capture card so that I can prove these scores even if something happens, like hang or similar. $5,950. What I will want to do now is I'm gonna try this. Some base clock bumps. I think this will crash. .1675 Vcore. And we hang. Yeah. Need 21 FPS roughly. 5A50 at the moment. So 75%. 4K but no overtime thingy. $21. Ah. Save data file. 5600X. FPS. So now we'll do the same thing again with overtime or overkill mode. Sorry. Just wanna try this. Oh, are we running out of memory? Okay, and that's pretty much it. So the 5600X is definitely a somewhat okay CPU, but it's not like the golden one that could take down all of the top scores. A really like golden CPU would have to be able to do something like well beyond 4.9 on water. This CPU sadly doesn't do it, and it's very hard to find such a CPU. But anyways, so 5875 to 5.9 in R20. 5.95 in Geekbench3. For some reason I had issues in GPU Pi, but well, don't know, but 5.9 something. And X265 was 5850 to 5875. So I think it was quite good. 5600X, probably one of the most popular CPUs from the 5000 series Ryzen CPUs. And yeah, the load wasn't that bad. It's definitely a no problem for the T-Rex Rev 4. So the T-Rex 4, I think it was only like 1.5 to 2 degree delta between idle and load. I think idle was like 194.5 and load was around minus 193, like minus 192.9, so like 1.5 degree delta. But yeah, I will post the scores on HWBot. For some reason for me, there was a huge difference again between the different BIOS versions. So for me, the best BIOS was definitely the A20 BIOS from last May. Some of the newer retail BIOSes were worse memory-wise, and the extreme overclocking BIOSes were really bad memory-wise. They were just giving me 22 debug code, and then I would have to clear CMOS, and if you have to clear CMOS, you need to warm up a lot. If I had to do a clear CMOS, I had to warm up until like minus 90 or even minus 75, so that was a huge pain in the butt to bench with such a CPU. But if I was able to bench without doing like a clear CMOS, so only like reset, I could even reset full pot if my fClock was at 1567. 1600 was like minus 190 code boot bug or so on. I think the maximum I could do at full pot temperatures, fClock wise, would be 1700 something. So the higher your fClock is, the worse your code bug will become. So I was saying. So the key, I think the CPU could take the Geekbench3, but it needs a lot of work on the memory, because the IMC isn't very good on cold, and that needs more experiments with different BIOS versions and so on, because I need to be able to do the same performance at 4800 on LN2 what I could do on water. On water I was able to do like 10,400 to 10,500 in Geekbench3, but on LN2 I couldn't even exceed 10,000 points on the Geekbench3 Multi Core, on the memory score I mean. So that's the biggest issue that I had. R20, R15 and Geekbench3, they were CPU-wise, they were alright. So can't take down the top scores with this CPU. The guy from Israel and SafeDisk, they have like nearly 6 GHz capable CPUs. I think the guy from Israel has a bit over 6 GHz in R20, so that's definitely a huge score. But yeah, so check out the scores if you like to see them, and subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching one of my videos once again, and I'll see you on the next one.